1300 WIMG and WPHY Channel 25 proudly presents today's topic on Trenton Talks. Today's topic is a program that discusses the topics that are important to you. And now, today's topic.
Hello friends, Jacque Howard here, host of the Trenton 365 show, but on Tuesday nights I am fortunate enough to come on TV and talk to you for the Trenton Talks Today's Topic series. You're listening over WIMG 1300 on the AM dial, streaming over our website WIMG1300.com, Facebook and Twitter as well, WIMG 1300, and again, if you're watching over television, it's channel 25, WPHY, Mercer County, New Jersey. We've got tons of information to get out, and the topic for this is going to be social justice. In the studio with me is Caitlin Fair, who is an artist, community organizer, and several other things, and she's a Trentonian as well. Caitlin, thank you for some more of your time.
Yeah, thank you for having me again.
Excellent. So, Caitlin, I want you to just share a little bit about your background, and then I want you to talk about a mural that was created and removed and is in the process of coming back in Trenton, New Jersey.
Sure. So I grew up between Trenton, Wilbur Section Trenton, and Yardley, Pennsylvania. For most of my adolescence was in Wilbur Section, and started out doing spoken word in high school, which kind of just transformed itself into kind of this social justice awareness piece, which transformed into organizing, community organizing, advocacy for social justice, and all types of other interesting things that have come out of that. One of which is the Mike Brown mural that was downtown in Trenton for maybe a week and a half, which came about as part of initially as a spoken word piece that I had written in response to the shooting death of Michael Brown in Ferguson, that I was working on a video with Black Collar Biz of R.E.A.H Coalition. We were working on shooting a video for that particular spoken word piece, part of which was going to have scenes of black men in the Trenton community doing, everyday things that they would normally do. And so Will Casso-Condry from R.E.A.H Coalition happened to be involved in that as well, and he just so happened to be getting ready to paint a couple of gates downtown one day when we were having a meeting about the video. And so we asked him if we could shoot him painting the gates, and he said, sure, I don't know what I'm going to paint yet, but, absolutely. And I said, well, what if you painted Mike Brown? And he was like, yeah, cool. That'd be awesome. And I was like, great, that'd be perfect for the video. So that's how the whole idea of the Mike Brown mural came about, just very organically. And so we went down there an hour later and painted Mike Brown on the gates.
Mm-hmm. And, I want you to also talk about, there was a tag line that was on the mural that I think may have upset some people. Can you say what that tagline was and where that came from?
Yeah, the tag that was on the background of the gate read, "Sagging pants is not probable cause." And it was actually a line from the spoken word piece that we were shooting the video for. So when we were finished, painting the image of the mural, the guys thought it would be really cool if we incorporated a line from the actual spoken word piece that kind of prompted the whole thing on the gate. And so we went through the whole poem and, proposed a couple of ideas and just kind of landed on that as something that was, an interesting thing to put up, certainly, never intending to be inflammatory necessarily, but certainly, potentially a bit controversial or prompting. But, so that was where that came from.
Mm-hmm. And Will Casso is a friend of mine, and I spend a great deal of time with him. I see him on a regular basis. And we also had a conversation earlier, I guess, in December it may have been, when we talked about this, and then on location, you and I and Casso had a conversation talking about this, and Will was so specific about saying the reason behind what he does in art is to create dialogue, to get people to the table to talk about different things, and sometimes those issues are hard to talk about. We'd rather not discuss them, but his whole impetus is to bring people together to create a better community, not to be controversial, not to do anything that's going to upset any groups of people, but say, hey, look, these are issues that we really need to have some time to sit down and sit down and talk about because of the importance of creating community. So I'm glad that you were able to share with me the other night and then tonight about how this whole mural, how it organically grew, how it was not meant to do anything to put anybody on blast, as the kids like to say. It was done as a piece of art, and also to create dialogue. It's pretty interesting for the folks who are going to be seeing you on television on this segment. They're going to know that you're a Caucasian woman. So I want to fill folks in. The Wilbur section of Trenton is a very challenged area. It's not far from the Central Police Station. There is a substation there, and it's a half a block from Trenton Central High School. So in most communities, a very challenged neighborhood is not near those things. But the Wilbur section is indeed a very challenged area, and that's where you're comfortable with saying this is where you spent your adolescence. This is where you grew up. And then you moved to Yardley, Pennsylvania, less than 10 miles away, which is a polar opposite of growing up in the Wilbur section. So I'm sure there was some culture shock. Is that a good way to put it?
Yeah.
And what was that experience like for you?
Well, it actually happened the other way around. So I was born in Trenton, and then I lived probably up until about middle school. I lived in Yardley, and then I moved into Wilbur section in about 8th grade or so, and lived there up through college. So it was kind of the opposite culture shock a little bit, but frankly, I always felt more comfortable in Wilbur section than I ever did in Yardley, despite many of the challenges that the area faces, which to me was an interesting paradox because, you think of Yardley as a particularly safe, quiet, upper middle class area where most people would feel comfortable. But I never really felt a sense of belonging there. And when I moved into Wilbur section, I immediately pretty much felt like this was home to me, and that there was a sense of belonging and community there that I didn't have ever in Yardley previously. So, that's why that really is where I call home, and I feel like I was raised there for the most part because I feel like it really shaped my character and shaped my philosophies on life more than any other place ever had.
Right now, there are several hot button or hot topic issues that are going on internationally, focusing on the United States with police brutality, police actions, Mike Brown, Ferguson, St. Louis, New York, and there's a whole bunch of other issues that are bubbling up all over the place. You were actually on the ground in Ferguson. Can you talk about that experience?
Yeah, it was funny because I actually just had this conversation just a little while ago, and it's a hard experience to explain, really. I remember coming back and people asking, like, how was your trip? And trying to figure out how you answer that question. I went down there with the mindset that I may not be well received as a white person, and that there may very well be a lot of people down there who are not really happy with white people right now, and that was okay. So walking into it, I was kind of very cautious about what my role in that was going to be and how I was going to be received. But when I got down there, I can honestly say that the sense of love and community that was happening in the midst of all this chaos was incredible. And people really just loved on you and welcomed the people who were coming down there to support with open arms. And it was an incredibly powerful experience, both positively and negatively. But I feel like it really radicalized me in many ways.
And when you say radicalize you, just drill down on that a little bit. I don't want you to take too much time because I think it's important for people to find out who you are. And if they want to know the meat and potatoes of who Caitlin Fair is and your artwork and so forth, then they should reach out and contact you. But just touch on that a little bit more. Yeah,
so I think we live in a patriarchal white capitalist society. And those are things that people are afraid to say a lot of times, I think. And I think I had to just become a lot more honest with myself about the world we live in and about the systems that we have in place in this country and the way they came to be what they are, and the way that they impact different groups in this country to this very day, which a lot of people are not ready to fully accept. We like to think that we live in a post-racial society, and we don't by any means. And I just really had to get very clear about that for myself and with other people in those conversations, and just be really real about it and not be afraid to call it what it is.
Thank you for saying that and expressing it and explaining it that way. Because part of what I try to do with Trent 365 and anything I'm involved with is to share information. Everyone's opinion does count, but a lot of our opinions are formulated in a vacuum. And I think sometimes when we make up our mind and our opinions in those vacuums, and we live our lives and think that everyone else should understand our point of view in our vacuum, but we won't let them in our vacuum, there's no community building there at all, and there's no way that it's going to be able to have any community building there. And that's generally why things happen and things escalate and people get very upset, and then they're reacting as opposed to having conversations and so forth. When we were talking about the Michael Brown mural that took place in downtown Trenton on Broad and East Hanover Street, you followed up later with an event that you were part of. I don't know if you coordinated it or if you were kind of like the manager of it. Can you just talk about that project as well?
Yeah, so the day before Thanksgiving, actually, I think it was right shortly after the no indictment verdict came down from the grand jury in Ferguson. I unfortunately can't say that I was tremendously surprised by it, but it was painful nonetheless. Because there was always kind of that sliver of hope that the system will work, and it didn't. So, I just felt moved to, in lieu of the fact that the Michael Brown mural came down in a way that I don't think was justified, and the way that Mike Brown didn't get justice for his death, I decided that, I wanted to do a tribute in an artistic way, certainly, because that's kind of the nexus that I come from, to the many, many, many victims of police brutality and vigilantism in this country. So we went down to the place where I invited, community members and people that I was connected with to come down to the location where the mural had been. And I cut out probably over 50 paper crosses, and I wrote the names of men, women, and children of color who had been killed by either police or vigilantes in the country and their ages on the crosses. So, there were children as young as 7 years old on some of those crosses. And we hung them on the gate with a sign that read, "The whole damn system is guilty as hell." We did a candlelight vigil. We had a couple of clergy members say prayers for those who have passed and, just for the community at large and the world and the nation. And then I performed a spoken word piece that I had written in response to Michael Brown's killing, all in front of the gate where the mural had been.
We've got just a couple of minutes up before a very short break, but I want you to give a little teaser of what's coming up for Caitlin Fair as an artist. And then I want you to talk about what other initiatives people can take, individuals, similar to what you did with the crosses on the gate and so forth. But hold that. We're going to talk about that just after a short break. Folks, you're listening to Trenton Talks. Trenton Talks, today's topic. They're gonna get me. I'm sorry, Vini, Maggie, everybody. Trenton Talks, today's topic, and we're talking about social justice. I'm your host, Jacque Howard, and in the studio with me is Caitlin Fair. Caitlin Fair is a community organizer. She's an educator. She's an artist. She's doing a lot of wonderful things in this region, and a lot of it is not just word. There's a lot of action involved in this as well. And she's sharing about some of her time in Ferguson. We're not going to touch base on her time in New York or Philadelphia during some of the other rallies and movements that have been taking place. We're focusing on what's happening here in Trenton. But Caitlin, just give your contact information if you're willing to share it with like a website or Facebook page, and then we're going to take a short break.
Yeah, I'm on Facebook at Caitlin Fair. I also have a website. It's vocalupholstery.com.
Excellent. Caitlin Fair, thank you very much. We're going to be back after a short break. Again, folks, you're listening to Trenton Talks. Today's topic, I'm Jacque Howard, your host, WIMG 1300 and WPHY Channel 25.
Here's an important legal alert for women over the age of 35 who've experienced problems with a transvaginal mesh surgery. The fact is, the synthetic surgical mesh products designed to fix your problems have a high failure rate. Erosion of vaginal mesh puts women at risk for potentially painful and fatal complications. If you've opted for a surgery using transvaginal mesh and you've had a revision surgery or need to have a revision surgery to fix the problem, you may be entitled to significant financial compensation. The attorneys at the Legal Alert Helpline are experts in helping our clients get the maximum financial compensation possible. Our female staff of legal professionals are standing by to help you. Call right now for a free consultation. There are no fees unless we win your case. I am a non-attorney spokesperson. 800-430-0674, 800-430-0674, 800-430-0674, 800-430-0674.
Hello, friends. Welcome back. I'm Jacque Howard, host for tonight of Trenton Talks. Today's topic, they may bounce me out of here if I can't get the title correct. But anyway, I am also the host of the Trenton 365 show, heard right here on WIMG every Monday night from 8 to 9 p.m. And we talk about positive things that are taking place in the Delaware Valley region with a focus on Trenton and the surrounding communities. You can follow us on Facebook and Twitter, WIMG 1300. Our website is WIMG1300.com. And you can actually stream anywhere globally all the wonderful programming here at WIMG on our website. In the studio with me for 30 minutes, and we're almost halfway through, is Caitlin Fair. Caitlin Fair is a Trentonian at heart. She's an artist, a community organizer, educator as well. And her website is
Vocal Upholstery.
Vocal Upholstery. And there you can find out more about what she's doing. And before the break, we were talking about some of the things that are taking place here in the city of Trenton, mainly surrounding a Mike Brown mural that was painted and then taken down, and a community organizing effort that she did with some clergy folks and people from the community. And we were talking about all those different things. So just to rehash the conversation that we had earlier, the mural, the Mike Brown mural that was put up, and the tagline was something that you wrote through your spoken word artistry. Mm-hmm. The mural was taken down for whatever reason it was. It was taken down, and you went back and you coordinated an event that took place after the no indictment verdict. Mm-hmm. Can you just share again about that event?
Yeah, so what I did is I just got a group of people together, or just kind of put it out there that I was going to be doing this. And frankly, there was a point in time where I thought I might be down there by myself, which was fine.
Doesn't surprise me.
So I cut out a bunch of paper crosses, and there were about between 50 and 60 that I wrote the names of men, women, and children whose lives have been taken by police brutality and either by police or vigilantes, their names and ages, and then taped them to the gate that the Mike Brown mural had been on previously, around a sign that read, "The whole damn system is guilty as hell." And I had some clergy members who had come out to the event. We did a candlelight vigil. We said some prayers, and I performed the piece, the spoken word piece that I had written called "Dear Black Boys," that had prompted the mural and the tagline on the mural. So I performed that in front of the gate, and then actually myself and a couple of other people marched down to the steps of the courthouse and dropped off a book bag that was filled with Skittles and iced tea and a hoodie and a toy gun and a toy sword and a sandwich and loose cigarettes and some cigarillos and various other symbolic things that people of color have been killed for in the past couple of years, and left it there, kind of scattered all over the steps of the courthouse. Mm-hmm. So that was the action that we did there, just the day before Thanksgiving. Actually, it was.
Mm-hmm. And all of the things that you've talked about and we've been talking about tonight, they are not done to incite anything.
Never.
It's really to create dialogue.
Yeah.
Because having that conversation with people who don't necessarily look like you, not saying you, but me as well, who people don't look alike, who don't have the same backgrounds, who may not even speak the same language, if we can come together and have a conversation where in a comfortable, safe location, I can tell you how I feel. And I can share my things that they could be perceptions or they may be misperceptions. Whatever they are, at least now we're creating something. Because I'm a firm believer that it's very difficult to cause any harm to someone who you are a friend of or in close contact with, which is why I'm always saying, hello, friends, because I don't want to do anything to you and I don't want you to do anything to me. So I think that it's really important for us to understand that all of this is to get people together to start talking and communicating and sharing exactly what their feelings are. So to all my friends who are in law enforcement, this is not a finger-pointing session and saying all police are this or all perpetrators look like this. It's not it at all. Because we know that human beings, especially from a spiritual sense, human beings are human beings. There's going to be an element of people who are going to do certain things, and there's some people who only learn by certain actions. But that doesn't necessarily mean that all of our actions should be dictated by that percentage of people. Generally, it's usually a very, very small percentage. So I want you to talk about some of the other things that you have coming up, because I know that you are a performer and that you perform on a regular basis. So I want you to talk about some of the things that you have coming up.
Yeah, well, at this point, actually, I'm really trying to decentralize away from my own art. You know, I love creating, and that's what I do, but I do it mainly for myself. As a means of expression and catharsis and you know, therapy to a degree. And I found that that's been the best way for me to communicate the things that I've been feeling. And I know that there are a lot of other people who have a lot of feelings and thoughts and emotions that they need to convey in a way that's constructive. So at this point, I'm really trying to take what I've built through my own art and provide a platform for other people to be able to communicate through their own art or whatever, you know, means of expression they have. So we're trying to start a monthly open mic, actually the first one of which we're doing, it's a themed open mic this Friday called Protest Through Poetry, Black Lives Matter open mic. So I've just invited a lot of people who I know have been working on music and spoken word and poetry and other things around these kinds of issues who I think deserve to be able to communicate those things and just giving people a safe space to mourn or to celebrate or to protest or, you know, just convey whatever it is that they're experiencing in a safe and supportive environment that's filled with love. I also have my website, vocalupholstery.com, where I feature my own work is featured, including a blog that I write. But more importantly, I take submissions, particularly from youth in the Trenton area, either, you know, whether it be videos, whether it be spoken word, poetry, music, whatever, visual art. And I post that on my Artivism section of the website to give youth in the community a platform to be able to put their own work out there and have people view that and have a sense of propriety over something. So we're doing both of those things. And then most of my work at this point is moving more away from my own art and more into community organizing. So I've been working on some community programs, including a books and breakfast that we're doing on Saturday, which was birthed out of Hands Up United in Ferguson. They began this program, this books and breakfast program for the Ferguson community. And then a couple of wonderful organizers in Newark. It was kind of fronted by Niall Fort, who's an incredible young man. He started this program in conjunction in Newark. So they did a books and breakfast in Newark on the same day that they did the one in Ferguson the second time around. And so, you know, I'm trying to get Trenton on the bandwagon with that and doing the books and breakfast program here and, you know, just trying to create a movement in that. and hopefully there will be books and breakfast programs going on all over the nation at some point. But my responsibility right now is getting that program happening in Trenton on a monthly basis.
And then how can people find out more about the books and breakfast program, as well as what you're doing with Vocal Upholstery?
Well, you can, all of the information, including my community organizing, is on the events page of my website, vocalupholstery.com. And there's also a Facebook page called the One Trenton Project. One Trenton is one word. And that is the umbrella coalition under which all of these programs are happening. So it's just kind of a group of concerned citizens, individuals, community members, representatives from different agencies and organizations in the community who want to do great things in the city, coming together to do kind of these grassroots programming things. So the One Trenton Project page on Facebook has all of that information as well.
That's fantastic. I wanted to talk a bit more about the books for breakfast, the books and breakfast program that you're initiating here in Trenton. There's no secret about the issues that happened in Trenton in the last several years regarding the public libraries being closed, and what was happening with them and the administration, et cetera. But I was very taken back about the percentage of people who do not have a library card in the United States of America. The thought is that it's less than 15% of the people who live in the United States have a library card and go to a local library. So that immediately makes me think, well, where are people getting their information? Are they getting information that's being spoon-fed to them by traditional media outlets, or are they just watching television, getting it from the certain networks, or are they just not getting any information at all other than what they see in their neighborhood or on their block or whatever? So either way, that goes back to that whole isolation kind of point of view. I mean, for those of you who are spiritual, and I've said this before, hell is isolation from God. So when you isolate yourself from other people, I just can't see how that's going to be productive in any way, shape, or form. So kudos to you for doing that as well, because there is a study that's out that if a child grows up with a library in their home, that their percentage of growth and college education and learning potential, all those things, it's almost like quadruples.
Yeah.
So classics books and gifts, the Trenton Library, I Am Trenton, and others are doing some great projects, and I'm fortunate enough to be tied into one of those projects as well, where we're taking recycled newspaper boxes and turning them into public library boxes, or boxes so that people can adopt it and set it out front of their house, and you can get used books from classics books, and you can put them out there so that people in the community can actually just get books for free, because some people don't have the transportation to get to the library, etc. So thank you for doing that as well. Where's the Books and Breakfast program this Saturday going to take place?
It's going to be at Classics Books downtown.
And Classics is located?
On Lafayette Street.
Yes, Lafayette Street, across from the newly branded Wyndham Hotel. So there you can actually see some of the things that are taking place there. We've got less than 2 minutes left. Caitlin, I want you to just close things out for us.
Yeah, I'm just really excited about the opportunity to do work in the community. And I think, with the One Trenton Project and the programs that we're doing, the goal is to really promote the fellowship in the community, while trying to instill some of these great values like literacy and reading and love, really just pouring love back into the community, which I think is something that, we take for granted sometimes. Some of the solutions, the easiest solutions sometimes are the hardest to come by. And I'm just really committed to bringing people in Trenton together around awesome things like food and fellowship and books and art and, whatever makes their wagon run. So,
Caitlin Fair, thank you so much for your time. Find out more about what Caitlin Fair is doing by going to her website, Vocal Upholstery. And follow her and like her. All you have to do is Google her, Caitlin with a C, Fair, like fair trade. I'm Jacque Howard. You're listening to Trenton Talks, Today's topic. Did I get that right? Yeah, that's right. Trenton Talks, today's topic. You can also follow me on Monday nights, 8 to 9 p.m. right here on WIMG 1300 for the Trenton 365 show. And you can follow us on Twitter and find us on Facebook as well. You guys have a great night. Thank you so much, friends. And you're listening to us over WIMG 1300.